As we go live on www.volvooceanrace.tv.
That's right, Guy. We are on board with PUMA, and boy, the pictures going out on .tv, they should give you an idea of the conditions out there. Really, really rough. A few moments ago, we were watching the guys put up the mainsail, waves breaking over the deck. Really a big swell out there. My sympathies, guys, to you folks that are out there on the smaller boats.
Yeah, you have to say though, it's good practice for getting around the world, getting off to a tough start, but it's a matter now of containing a bit, I guess. The competitive juices are definitely flowing at the start of any big event like this. The guys have been training and practicing for months and years in some cases. They want to get going, they want to get started, and now they have to just rein in a little because they do not want to break their boats on the first night out. Whether they'll be able to do that, we don't know. I've never yet seen an uncompetitive start to a leg of a Volvo Ocean Race. Everyone wants to be first across that start line. I have to say PUMA had looked pretty slick as far as starting is concerned in the In-Port Race and the practice for the In-Port Races. Also impressive Green Dragon, and it's something Lisa and I were talking about earlier, is the amount of Olympic sailors, Lisa, we've got on board these Volvo Ocean Race boats these days.
Very impressive Olympic performance in the fleet this time round, and I think I've just heard you mention trying to hold back. Well, there won't be any holding back today. I think what will be going through all the skippers and all the crew's minds at the moment will be trying to minimise what they do over the next couple of hours, but at the same time get the maximum they can out of their boat speed and out of their tactical performance inshore.
Well, some of the best tacticians are aboard Telefonica Black, which is I think you're currently seeing on screen as we bounce around here.
On board with the guys on Telefonica Black, and of course the conditions really, really rough. We've just switched to two of the cameras on board. We have a mast camera looking back. We also have a stern camera that's facing forward, and we can really see how hard they're working out there. Telefonica Black, of course, is the Spanish of the two Telefonica boats. Skipper Fernando Echevarri at the helm as they prepare to be starting. We're going to be getting a warning signal in just a moment, and I think we might be able to try and get Knut Frostad, who's been through this before as the skipper of one of these boats. Knut, you're out there on the water right now. What does it look like, and what does it feel like when you're the skipper of one of these boats on the first day of the Volvo Ocean Race?
Yeah, hi Peter, this is Knut here. I'm on the frigate together with the king himself, and we are just in position with the anchor down. The wind is it's windy. We have about 28 knots of wind speed at the moment, and it's looking pretty good. The breeze has been up and down a bit from 25 to 30, and now it's settling around 26 and 28. It looks fantastic, and I know the skippers here are going to be concerned because with the weather forecast, they want to pull ahead, they want to get a good start, they want to be early out of the Mediterranean. At the same time, this first little lap they're going to have is going to be tough because it's going to be around 30 knots and a lot of pressure on the crew, and easy to make mistakes. So I think it's a lot of adrenaline going through these guys at the moment.
Thanks for that, Knut. Well, we do know the conditions are tough. Now, the weather forecast, the last weather forecast we had was for conditions to maybe moderate a little bit this morning and then build up in the afternoon. We haven't really seen them moderate. We're still somewhere upwards of 20 knots, but the sting in the tail is that this wind is expected to ease off nearly completely at some point in the next 24 hours. Whether that's 12 hours from now, 18 hours, or 24 is unknown right now, but it's going to be a really tough start, and then the guys are expecting some calm conditions probably before they get out of Gibraltar, and that's really going to add some interesting tactical choices. If you're watching on .tv, we're on board with PUMA Ocean Racing. We are going to get a helicopter up in a moment. We should have helicopter shots coming through very shortly as well, and that'll give us a real good indication of what the fleet is like, and of course that great overall picture of the start. But Guy, I'm going to pass it back to you. You're out there. What are you seeing?
Well, at the moment, of course, we're now working towards the pretty close to the 10-minute gun out here at the moment. It's pretty difficult to actually hear anything, so I'm hoping the frigate's got well loaded when we actually get the thing started. We are still just bouncing around. We've just seen Delta Lloyd go past us. Funnily enough, the calmest guys on the water at the moment appear to be the Volvo 70s. They're not looking in too much bother at all, as that's the 10-minute warning goes off. So we're now 10 minutes from the start of the Volvo Ocean Race. Various people have pressed their stopwatches, so I'm hoping we count it down properly for you out here on the water. Ribs bouncing around near the start line. We've got the Ericsson 3, I can see, Green Dragon, who very sensibly, I think, was probably the last boat out into the big stuff. Lisa, pretty sensible stuff from husband Neil and the rest, Ian Walker and the guys. They look as if they didn't want to spend any more time out here than absolutely necessary.
Well, as we came out of the harbour today, it looked like Green Dragon was holding back just a little bit, probably having a good think about what to do today and how to approach today. They were last out the harbour. They've got their full suit of sails up at the moment, with a reef in, of course, set for the conditions, and they're out having a good little sail, checking the conditions before they head over to the start line with us.
So what does it feel like when you know there's 10 minutes to go to the start of a Volvo Ocean Race?
I'm personally very excited right now. I love watching it. I know that nerves will be quite high on all the boats. They have a great little, for the spectators, it's a great little short course before the start of the race. But actually, I've just been looking at the map in front of me, and I'm looking out now from the boat that we're on at the start line. And it's a very short course for these big beasts of boats. They're going from the start line upwind to a point off the Albufeira point just ahead of us, and then of course they come back down to the start line, to the starting buoy, which they will round, probably a dive mark at this stage, and then head out to sea. So plenty of action initially.
Plenty of action, but I think it's going to be a short, intense burst of action as Telefonica Black screams past the aft of our boat. What a picture it does look as these boats move in these big winds. And I have to say, I don't know if Knut's listening at the moment. He keeps saying he wants to stay in his suit, but you must want to go out there, don't you really, Knut, when it's like this? Can't pick up Knut at the moment. Richard, let's go and get the latest. We have now able to go up and get some aerial shots, and I think we'll just let the pictures tell the story for a minute, because if the helicopter's got up in this, it's going to have some terrific shots of the boats down below.
Thanks, Guy. We're currently on board with Green Dragon. We're waiting to get that helicopter shot in, but it should come in just a moment. And we are really seeing a lot of wind, a lot of waves. It's really wet and tough conditions out there for these guys. Richard, I know you've been lining up some of the other guests on the VIP boat. Do you have somebody with you just now? Can we go to you?
Yeah, certainly do. Yeah, Mike Sanderson, the man who won this leg in the last Volvo Ocean Race and then went on to win the race. There is a different sort of feeling out here now. The boats have got their sails, they've got their game face on. The emotion of the dockside is behind, and Mike Sanderson, it's all moved. 5 minutes ago we were in a different mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys have now got to concentrate 100% on doing a nice job here. They want to win this first lap for the sake of their sponsors, and all their fans and all the work that the shore crews and the teams have put into this. But yeah, these guys will take this seriously, but they'll be very conscious not to break something on this up-down leg.
We saw a collision at the In-Port Race. Conditions then were benign. They're not now. White horses, big swell, building breeze, 28 knots we've just heard. They've got to be careful. We're looking at the moment. They're all looking pretty gingerly the way they're sailing.
Yeah, well, they're just, these boats, if you let them loose now, they'd be ripping around at 25 knots maybe, and you just cover a huge amount of distance. They want to stay nice and close to the start line. They want to make sure that they're as prepared as they can be, make sure the systems are working properly, and we're going to see them light these boats up very soon, and it's going to be an impressive little beat to the top mark, and then we're going to see shoots on back down.
And some of the boats like Delta Lloyd, they're pretty new, only just announced the campaign, and for them, this isn't just the race like that for Ericsson, who've been building up for so long. This is practice as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The brand new campaigns, this is really their worst nightmare, this sort of start. It's going to be fast, it's going to be furious, it's going to be wet, but it is going to be great to watch.
Okay, helicopter flying above, heart rate up, back to Guy.
Well, the helicopter, just as a little bit of sun breaks through, no particular change as far as the wind conditions and sea conditions are concerned, but certainly a wee bit brighter, so the shots we're seeing should just perk up a little, I would have thought, out here. We're coming up to the 5-minute gun any moment now, and you do feel I love this moment. That is 5 minutes. There's just something special about this when you do have the build up to the start of this race. The in-port race is great, love the in-port racing, but there is something about the guys when they're just about to head off. 37,000 miles this time. Let's go through the team so you know exactly who we're talking about here, and the guys involved. Team Russia: Andreas Hanekamp, Wouter Verbrek, Mark Cavell, Stig Vestergaard, Guillermo Altadil, Roddy and Luca, Jeremy Elliott, Ben Costello, Mike Joubert and Nick Bubb. We'll continue to go through this team. I miss Cameron Wills. Telefonica Blue cuts in front of us, a yellow helicopter flying low to get the pictures it needs for the TV pictures around the world. Remember, we have brought to you for the first time the start of the race on Volvo, www.volvooceanrace.org TV. You can hear us on .org, you can hear us out on VHF. 4 minutes to go. Suddenly everything is coming alive. The boats are now jousting for position at the start line. Every media boat is trying to get the best possible position to take photographs, to bring you the best pictures. The spectator fleet, the huge amount of sponsors of all the teams who have made their way out here to Alicante to see these boats start this epic journey. Among the favourites, well, you always have to say that the two-boat campaign should have the head start. That will certainly help Telefonica and Ericsson if history is to be believed. The winner of the first leg has also traditionally gone on to win the race, so maybe we'll just have more of an idea come Cape Town. PUMA cutting a wonderful picture. Il Mostro, the boat name, designed after one of their iconic training shoes. 3 minutes to go now to the start. Counting down. Green Dragon makes its way over towards just in front of us now. Be just behind them we have Telefonica Blue. Lisa trying to catch the eye of husband Neil. Looks as if he's concentrating a bit on the aftercard though.
I've just been watching the boat sailing around us out here, Guy, and I must admit we've been talking about the emotion most of the morning, but actually being out here in the elements, listening to the roar of the water as it goes along the sides of the boat and the odd flap of the sails as they rise up on a wave, it's adrenaline stuff out here.
I know, this is the bit I love. There is a buzz about the place now. There is a buzz on board our boat. I have to say our wonderful Spanish drivers have done a magnificent job to get us in the right place as we get another terrific look at PUMA. Jerry Kirby on the bow there for PUMA. He catches a wave. Ken Reed is there with his backwards red cap as he goes past. 2 minutes to go to the start. Telefonica Black, well, they're tracking PUMA. Delta Lloyd, Team Russia, they came together for that start in the in-port race. Delta Lloyd, yet another piece of fixing they had to do before they had to start. Remember, they had to make sure that ABN AMRO 1, as it originally was called, was now making the new rules for the Volvo 70 in this edition of the race. The two Ericsson boats side by side, 3 and 4. PUMA, we have pictures aboard PUMA. We've just been watching PUMA. The helicopters are up. We've got very little time now left before the start. Ria concentrating like crazy on his stopwatch to make sure that we count in as we get an early casualty, as a picture was attempted to be taken by one of our guys on board, takes a quick tumble. Riyadh, where are we? 1 minute to go. 1 minute to go. So now we are now up watching the start of this race from the helicopter. Magnificent sight with less than a minute to go. The boats that have been spread out all over the bay here are now neck and neck, cigarette papers between them. This is the start. We've got Green Dragon just a little bit further away, Lisa, and we'll be going to Lisa as soon as I've counted down the start. We have now 35 seconds to go before the start of the race. Puma looking beautifully set as she goes past Russia. Telefonica Black very close to Ericsson 3. And now Telefonica Blue coming through. We have the race starting now in 3, 2, 1, and we're underway for the 2008-2009 race. Lisa, what did you make of that start?
Well, it's all go on the start line. We're just up off the committee boats here, just behind the line. I've been watching the Green Dragon set up with a slightly larger jib than the other guys. Ian Walker and the Green Dragons down at the pin end. They've now got their sails going. They're coming across on port. Delta Lloyd is the last to cross on starboard, up at the committee end of the boat, and they're making for the line right now. All the rest of the fleet have headed off on starboard, down by the pin end. The Russians are just coming up for attack, sort of mid-fleet at the moment.
Delta Lloyd look as if they got the timing completely wrong. They've only just crossed the start line now, but Delta Lloyd are now away as the Green Dragon cross in front of them. Lisa, you're trying to get a message across to someone.
Well, it's quite exciting. We've got the Green Dragon starting on port now, heading out over the committee boat. They've got a nice big jib on, actually, very proactive against the rest of them. So we'll have to see how it pans out for them. They're heading out to sea now. The others are heading into shore a little bit. Two boats, the Telefonica, and the Russians have tacked over onto port already, following the Green Dragons out.
It's always fascinating. It seems as if every start we have seen, the Puma and Ericsson 4 have been tied together. Ken Reid and Torben Grail obviously having a bit of a joust. Every single import race, every other start, they have been tied together.
From where we're sitting, it looks like the Ericsson 4 and the Puma are actually side by side at the moment, heading off towards the beach. So we'll have to see if there's a little cheeky shift over there or what their tactical game might be.
As Ericsson 3 have certainly borne away now, Delta Lloyd and Telefonica Just Blue are still heading out alongside Puma and Ericsson 4. Green Dragon, the fleet now has completely split. Green Dragon, the furthest over on the right-hand side of the course. Puma and Ericsson 4 neck and neck on the left-hand side. Now, though, we find out who has got it right, who has made the best start here. You can hear the buzz of the helicopters over us now. 3 or 4 just trying to make sure that they're positioned correctly out here on the water. Delta Lloyd, who made that awful start, now beginning to just make a few inroads. But what is impressive is just the speed of these boats in these conditions. The fleet behind them, the ribs firing away on all cylinders, are really struggling just to stay with them.
One thing that might play into the hands of those that have gone out to the right-hand side of the course now is the seaway, Guy. We've had a very rough seaway all morning. There are many more spectators in on the beach side and probably slightly choppier sea on the beach side of the course, which is the left-hand side of the course going upwind. These guys getting out to the right might just have a little more room to stretch their legs a bit, and that's probably what they're playing for.
Well, it's been a terrific start. Let's go over to Richard Simmons and find out what they made of the start on the VIP boat. Richard?
It's a round-the-world race, but you'd never know it. They started like it was a race round the bay. I'm with Jochen Schumann. Perhaps the big talking point on this boat was one boat out on its own. Green Dragon punched across the line on port. You don't do that in a round-the-world race. Yes, you do if you're Ian Walker.
No, you wouldn't do it even in a smaller boat to start on port. It's very unlikely that that's possible. So, and although this time I think he had to pass behind everyone else. But he's free. We will see how he makes his way.
Okay, right now, the boat's out on the left-hand side. Most of the favourites appear to be going left. Is that the right way? Big shift on the start.
Yeah, they went into the shoreline, probably with less waves and better breeze even, and there was a big left shift right at the start. So I think that's why the favourites choosing all the same way. And we see the blue Telefonica there, Puma, and one of the Ericsson boats. So they look quite similar. Puma just tries to hang in, but they seem to struggle with their upwind speed.
Voice of Jochen Schumann there as we look. We're following the fleet, right-hand side, Green Dragon punching into a building breeze. On the left, though, quite a bunch, and they could be getting in each other's way on the left-hand side.
Yeah, that left-hand side looks very close, sorry.
It's hard to get your own free air, free waters. So Green Dragon is free. He's going ahead with a bigger head sail, actually. So it's hard to read from here what is better.
Jochen Schumann, thank you. Back to the water with Guy.
Many apologies for interrupting there, Richard. Absolutely right, though, that battle out on the left-hand side, fascinating to watch. PUMA and Ericsson 4 tied together again. I've got Lisa shaking her head. I love watching Lisa's reaction to what's going on out in the water. What's caught your eye now, Lisa?
Well, I'm watching this tussle over here between Ericsson 4 and PUMA. It's very early days, right off the start line. They're obviously going for the top mark branding, who's going to get there first, and they're not letting anything stand in their way, let alone the rest of the fleet. So we'll have to see how that all pans out. And watching the Green Dragon up here on the far right-hand side of the course, when they were doing their tune-up before the sail, they did sail up that side of the course to have a little look. So it'll be interesting to see if what they saw before pays off.
So that will be a decision made by the likes of Ian Moore, Neil MacDonald, Ian Walker, the brains trust on the boat?
Well, they set up quite early down at the pin end, and they obviously had a game plan in place, and they followed it, and that's what I like to see. I like to see commitment to a plan, and I like to see that they've had some forethought in sailing up there before and setting up for it.
Well, I think the other plan that we now certainly know is going to happen around the world is that Torben Grail and Ken Reid are going to be tied together like twins. They have been this way all the way through the racing so far, and of course that's one of the features of this race. Despite the fact that the next leg is 6,500 miles, it is still all about setting yourself up within the fleet, not just doing your own thing, making sure that you are in the right place to cover moves by the other boats in the fleet. It's going to make it interesting because on this leg the boats can effectively disappear for 12 hours. There's a stealth mode where they can say, well, we're not going to tell you where we are for the next 12 hours, you work it out. And that is going to make life interesting. And if Torben can work his magic, will he still be next to PUMA if that happens after 12 hours? Meanwhile, the split continues in the fleet. On the far left-hand side, we have Ericsson 4 and PUMA. In the middle of the fleet, it is Telefonica Black, then Ericsson 3 and Delta Lloyd as we look across. Green Dragon and Team Russia, I think, now furthest out on the right-hand side. We're struggling, I have to say, to keep up with the boats. Delta Lloyd are way back. I've just caught sight of them. A little bit of false credit, I'm afraid, to poor Delta Lloyd. We're a bit slow getting across the start line, but they admitted well before this race began that effectively the first race is almost their training run. They've got a new crew since they arrived in Alicante. They were not expecting to be ultra competitive on this first leg. They did okay in the in-port race with a scratch team, but this is going to be a long trip as far as they are concerned. Now, still out on the right-hand side, still Green Dragon, continuing to move. Be fascinating to see the pictures, Peter, coming from the helicopters at the moment.
Well, Guy, we've been focusing on Ericsson 4 just a moment ago. You could see Torben at the wheel there. Now we are on a helicopter shot. We've got Delta Lloyd trailing the fleet, PUMA Ocean Racing, well, Kenny Reid there in the middle of the race course, and just on the top of our screen out to the far right, we know that's where Green Dragon is. We're on board now with the guys on Delta Lloyd, and you just can't say enough about how quickly they've been able to get ready, put this campaign together, and get out on the start line. I know they did have a rather conservative start. That's probably the most generous way to describe it, but it was probably a very sensible thing for them. We're just thinking how much they've sailed this boat, and it really isn't very often. We know the boat sailed around the world before. It won the last edition of the Volvo Ocean Race. It's a good boat, but they take a while to learn, and it's a new crew that we've got on there. We're seeing PUMA Ocean Racing just crossing ahead of the Delta Lloyd guys now. They're rigging up sheets for this windward mark rounding for the leeward leg, and we'll be interested to see what kind of sails everybody comes up with on this one. Lisa, what can we expect when they get to the top mark, round the corner, and come downhill? We know they're going to be going fast. What sails are they going to be flying?
Right, we've just got a face full of water out here. Even on the fly bridge of our boat, it is fun and games out here, I have to say. Peter, I was going to ask, is there any better stats perhaps from Track or Virtual Spectator you can bring us out on the water?
Well, Guy, the race tracking is going to be up, but of course, because this is the race start, their positions, well, we talked about the stealth play. When there's no stealth play, positions only come through every 3 hours, so we're not expecting our first position report for a little while yet.
Little bit premature on my front, I do apologise. No, it's just fascinating to see when the fleet isn't spread out as this is exactly who has got it right. Is it the guys on the left, the guys on the right? We are some distance from the mark, I have to say, because we really are struggling to keep up with the boats in these very rough sea conditions. Our driver is scratching his head, and well he might at the moment. He's doing a fantastic job to keep us pointed towards the right direction, but we are now aboard Green Dragon, who we think could well be in the lead, but we won't know until we see what happens around that windward mark.
Well, Guy, Green Dragon is the furthest right of the fleet. Team Russia inside. Team Russia just rolling into attack, and I think we'll expect to see Green Dragon coming up and doing the same thing very shortly. Not sure whether Team Russia is on the ley line for that top mark. If she is, we'd expect Green Dragon to be tacking really, really soon. If not, there might still be a little ways to go. Team Russia, they're going to cross behind the Telefonica boat. Green Dragon further out to the right. They're continuing up, and we can see in the distance, if you're watching on .tv, you can see way out in the distance on the far left of the course is still Puma Ocean Racing and Ericsson 4. Now, if you're watching us on .tv, you're getting all of these images. If you're listening on the VHF or the main website, volvooceanrace.org, that's fantastic. And the philosophy of this one is never leave the race. You can watch it or listen to it on your mobile phone as well. We're at Green Dragon here as they're still out on the far right, just pounding through really big swells out here. You can see the waves have lengthened out as they get further away from the shoreline. I know they're still nowhere near an offshore type of condition, but the waves are starting to lengthen out there, and the boats are really leaping over the swells. And back to the helicopter shot now, a full shot of the fleet, and I think one of the Telefonica boats in the middle of the course might just have their bow out ahead of the others. Is that what you're seeing out on the water there, Guy?
Well, it's so difficult to see. We're behind the fleet. You have to say that the two Telefonica boats in the middle of the course could well have taken a slight advantage. I think the guys over on the left-hand side of the course perhaps didn't get what they were expecting quite out that way. I think the interesting one is going to be to be when Green Dragon do tack, and whether they have got it right out there.
Yes, I mean, as we've seen, Green Dragon has gone far hard right, and they're still going strong. The Russians actually tacked back just a little while ago to come back into the middle of the course, but the Green Dragons and is it Telefonica Blue out here on the right hand side with us have carried on.
So Telefonica Black is the Telefonica boat in the middle of the course, the one Peter thinks might just have its nose in front at the moment. When we're about, I should say, a good mile away from the boats at the moment, maybe even a touch more, it's quite difficult to tell which of the Telefonica boats is which and which of the Ericsson boats is which. Quite hard, it's absolutely impossible to tell which is which. Lisa?
On the right hand side of the course, that's Telefonica Blue up there. It looks like they've just tacked over to consolidate and come back to the middle of the course, whereas the Green Dragons are still heading out, and I believe it's Ericsson 3 out on this side, still heading out.
So Ericsson 3 happy to follow Green Dragon still for the time being. Russians have just crossed behind Telefonica Black. So the Russians certainly continuing to move from the right to the left-hand side of the course as we look here. Out on the left-hand side of the course, still Puma and Ericsson 4, buzzed by a helicopter as they go along the side of the beach. That side, they're on the land side. Green Dragon deciding, well, we may as well, it's an offshore race, we're going offshore, we may as well go offshore. They're still showing absolutely no signs of tacking out on the right-hand side of the course. And Ericsson 3, I think, have finally said, well, they've had enough. I think they have now tacked as well, have they? And so now it is just Green Dragon ploughing that lonely furrow. Oh, Ericsson 3 is still with them,
Yeah, Guy, we're seeing a nice helicopter shot now. Green Dragon, as you've said, definitely on their own out here to the right. The Ericsson boats mid-course are both looking pretty strong right now. I'm going to throw it over to Richard Simmons. I think you've got Magnus Holmberg with you as a guest. Richard?
Last time I was with Magnus Holmberg, it was in Valencia. The sun was shining and the sea was flat. It's pretty different now. It's pretty wild. This is life at the extreme for the spectators. Magnus, we are learning a lot, or we will learn a lot about the boats, and today it's going to be interesting when they go round that top mark and head downwind. What sails do you expect to see?
Well, certainly I'm expecting to see spinnakers coming up, and you know, the boats flying downwind to the next rounding, and then off for Cape Town.
The start, they split out now, Green Dragon way out on the right hand side. Were you surprised at the aggression of the way they started this race?
Yeah, I think, well, I was quite surprised seeing Green Dragon doing a port start. I was gutsy to do that, and although it seems early on the beat, well, we could see that the left hand side paid off with the left hand shift and possibly a little bit less waves and a bit more pressure, but be interesting to see how they're coming around the top mark.
Yeah, we're on board Green Dragon now, and this is a boat that they may not have had time on their side. It's been a complicated challenge, but supreme confidence, and that team is welded incredibly well. They know each other well. They've sailed so much together, and we just saw them throwing that boat around, but pre-start, like it was a toy.
Yeah, no, it's impressive, specifically when you think about the canting keel that you need to be in sync with and work with in the maneuvering in the pre-start. So, you know, it looks like, I think, most teams on the starting line are well prepared and know what they're doing out there.
Magnus Holmberg, thank you. Fleet heading up towards the first mark of the Volvo Ocean Race. Guy is closer slightly. We're ready for the downhill sprint. They'll be pointing at us. But now let's go to Guy.
Yeah, finally, Green Dragon have tacked. We've been waiting a long time, but finally the tack has come. And I know that James Boyd and Lisa were watching events while we were talking there, Richard, and update us on what's happening in the fleet, Lisa.
Looking up the course, we're now currently on the left-hand side of all the boats looking up the course. A few minutes ago, Green Dragon did actually tack over. They're now coming back on starboard, and it'll be interesting to see where they line up with the rest of the fleet. On the right-hand side of the course, Ericsson 3 and Telefonica Blue are still carrying out, they're still staying on port, going a bit further up. And on the left-hand side, it does look like Puma's actually stretched out quite a bit on the Ericsson 4. And it now looks like they're more in line with each other. Ericsson might be a little bit to the side or just behind them from where we are.
Well, I think we'll probably stop chasing the boats in a minute, let them round the mark and wait for them to come back past us. So we'll just see. We've got a cross going on up there. Ericsson 3 passing in front of Team Russia.
Well, Guy, I've just had Ericsson 3.
Ericsson 3.
We've just watched Ericsson 3 tack. They're coming up for a cross. It's still a little bit in the distance that I can see. It's Puma Ocean Racing they're coming up for a cross with. But the guys on Ericsson 3 are looking to be pretty well positioned right now. More middle of the course than some of the other boats, certainly. And they're settling in now. We can see them hauling the sail up on board. They're trying to get it on the foredeck, get ready for this mark rounding. Ericsson 4 has crossed in front of them. Ericsson 4 is on port tack still. They're crossing in front of their stablemates. We'll expect to see them roll into attack shortly as they approach that top mark. I know it's a fair distance from you, Guy, but they're going to be coming back, and they're going to be coming back to you very quickly.
Yeah, I think that is something we are now getting ready for. I think we'll probably just park here for the time being. We're going to wait for the boats to come back because Peter's right. With the wind out here, they're going to come flying back here. So we'll probably wait. We can just about see the top mark rounding from here. So we'll probably be able to work it out. And with the joys of television as well, Peter, please help us out if you can, because we are going to have to stay a little way away here. I remember in the last race we were in the Cape Town In-Port Race where it was blowing 35 knots and we were just stuck in the middle of the racetrack bouncing around like a ping pong ball in a garden hose and just basically having to guess pretty much who was going round which marks then. Riath had the great job then of trying to work out the deltas. I've taken him off delta duty today. It's just too difficult to tell, I'm afraid, out here. We're going to have to do that with the technical abilities that we now have on the race. And Puma, I have to say, look as if they're in very good shape. Ericsson 3 nicely positioned as well. Yeah, but it is fascinating to see now who has got the right line in to the mark. Lisa's standing up at the moment trying to see whether she can work out exactly who is where on the course, but from where we see at the moment, Puma look pretty well set. It'll be interesting to see just where Green Dragon are in relation to the rest of the fleet on that right-hand side of the course.
Well, Guy, we've just watched Puma tack. Ahead of them is Ericsson 4, I believe, and just behind them, just on their shoulder, is Ericsson 3. And as Puma tacks builds up to speed, the guys on Ericsson 3 skipper, and there's Luanda, they're coming up just on their hip very, very quickly. I think all three of these boats are on ley line for the mark, and if that's the case, I think we're going to see Torben Grail leading the fleet around this turning mark. As they start to turn downwind, charging downwind back towards you, they're going to be coming back very, very quickly.
Peter, is fascinating getting those. It was we couldn't tell from here exactly who was leading. Funnily enough, we probably wouldn't have had Ericsson 4 in front from where we are, so I'm so glad that the helicopter is managing to keep up. And Ericsson 4 and Torben Grail then look as if they might just have the edge coming round to the top mark. Basically, we're going to watch out for whoever puts the chute up first. Would anyone dare do that out here this afternoon?
Well, from where we are, I don't know quite what the wind has done or what the angle going back down to the start line will be, but it should be interesting to see if they do put chutes up. I think some of them will be trying to get as much gear up as possible and just send it when they can and try and get down the course and get round the next mark and head out to sea. But at the same time, they will be thinking a little bit about conserving their energies for actually getting around this mark. They may have a drive mark down here, which could be a bit tricky. I've just noticed all the spectator boats down at the bottom of the race course are holding out down there at the pin end by their mark they've got to round next. So it'll be quite tight for manoeuvring and keeping clear heads and hats on.
Okay, Lisa, Guy, we've just seen Ericsson 4 go around the mark. They've been raising a spinnaker. It's still banded together. They're hauling it up now, and the boat, even without the spinnaker, off the wind, just roaring away and coming back at you. We're watching Puma off of the mast cam on Ericsson 4. Puma behind. They're just coming around the mark now. And Ericsson 3, well, all but overlapped with Puma Ocean Racing. So that's your top three. Ericsson 4, Puma Ocean Racing, Ericsson 3, and I think you're going to see spinnakers on all of these boats, guys. And I might say we're seeing Ericsson 3. Wow, they really pour off around that mark. Maybe rolling into a jibe. No, not yet. But they did get a slight inside position, inside overlap on Puma Ocean Racing. We're on board with Puma right now. We're watching the grinders working hard, trying to get the sails set. Fantastic scene. Guy, they're roaring down towards you. What do you see?
Well, having followed them as they smash their way upwind, to just watch now as Ericsson 4 really does put the hammer down towards us. Puma also with the spinnaker up as well. So Puma second, Ericsson 4 first, Puma second, Ericsson 3 third. And, well, it does look as if that gamble on the right-hand side perhaps didn't pay off as much as Green Dragon were hoping. It's the boats, particularly Ericsson 4 and Puma, that stayed along the coastline that have benefited so far in this race. But we're just sat here, we're not really moving, and the boats are coming towards us. Well, we're going to have to turn round in a moment, otherwise they're going to overtake and be gone.
Well, Guy, I can give you just a quick update as well. Telefonica Black just leading its sister ship Telefonica Blue around the top mark. Both of them looking to set up now. And then three boats going around. Bang, bang, bang. It's Team Russia, Delta Lloyd, and just squeezing inside is going to be Green Dragon. Maybe they're going to round inside Delta Lloyd. It's happening right now. Yeah, they're just going to get inside Delta Lloyd going around, but you could say they're going around the market more or less the same time. So that's Green Dragon and Delta Lloyd bringing up the rear of the fleet. Team Russia, they're in front of them, but only by a boat length or so.
Well, that gamble from Green Dragon not paying off at the start. They will be seventh round the mark ahead of Delta Lloyd, but behind Team Russia. But it's the Ericssons and Puma who have made the best start in this 2008-9 race. Rias actually managed to get some times, fairly approximate, but 31 minutes 35 Ericsson 4 got up, so the first delta is 55 seconds back to Puma and another minute and 2 seconds to Ericsson 3. That, I'm afraid, is the best we're probably going to be able to do. Both Telefonica boats now round. Telefonica Black just ahead of Blue. We're going to have to turn round in a minute. I'll just try and catch the eye of our driver so we can make sure that we can now follow the boats as much as possible. We can look behind, and our driver very kindly has now just bringing us around, and we will now follow, if we can, Ericsson 4, Puma and Ericsson 3.
All right, Guy, thanks for that. We're on board right now with Ericsson 4. We can look back and see Puma in the distance behind them, that enormous red spinnaker up as they roar down towards you. I understand, Richard, you're back with Mike Sanderson, is that right?
That's right, we've got the Jennicas pouring down towards us. We are about 50 metres from the next buoy. Then they will head out to sea, a very, very fast power reach round an island, destination Cape Town. So not much longer in these sort of conditions. I'm standing next to Mike Sanderson. He won the race last time. Now you were talking, are they going to go for the A4s or the big A6 Jennicas? Simple decision for Puma.
Yeah, it was easy. Puma have hung the big gear on, and it looks like they've closed the gap right down on Ericsson 4, but there's some old hands there on Ericsson 4. They know they just got to get the boat around this lap in one piece.
Now they're pouring down close to the shore, great view from Alicante, but then I guess they'll want to jibe and come to the mark right where we are at speed so that they're not jibing on the mark.
Yeah, I think they're going to be pretty keen on picking this run and with just the one jibe, as you said. So where they jibe is critical. These boats have a sweet spot and they'll be very keen to keep it in that mode.
Short upwind leg, big lead for the leader. What does that tell you?
Yeah, well, we talked about this before the race. You know, I think it's a power race. The Ericsson 4 guys are going to be really happy with that beat. I think they went the right way, but also they're going to be very happy with their pace.
Yeah, and Green Dragon went right was wrong. I think we haven't learned anything about speed. They just picked the wrong side on that first leg, but now we're seeing the boats pour downhill.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. You know, these boats are ripping towards us. They're chucking water around. You know, we're going to see some fantastic shots of these things at full pace from day one. So what a start.
Thank you, Mike. Now, they haven't all followed down the coast. One boat has jibed, and Peter Rush, you're watching.
Yeah, that's Ericsson 3 jibed out. They also don't have the big Jenniker up, but they've jibed, and they're coming across the other way. The first boat still Ericsson 4, Puma Ocean Racing, just in behind, and Guy, those must be coming right in front of you now.
We're now just drawing up pretty much alongside Ericsson 4. How long we'll be able to stay there, I simply don't know, but now clear water between Ericsson 4 and Puma and the rest of the fleet. Just looking back, and what have you spotted, James?
Just Ericsson 3 have jibed. There seems to be quite a big mixture of sails going up. We've got a mixture of Puma. We've got a masthead spinnaker up, which is quite a ballsy move in these conditions. Ericsson 4, who are leading, have got a slightly smaller fractional kite. And Ericsson 3, who, as we said, have just jibed. They've got some sort of reaching kite up. So it's it's a big mixture of sails we're seeing at the moment.
Lisa, everyone always says you have to get the sails right. Are you surprised by the differences in the sails that these guys have up at the moment?
Well, I can see why Puma's put the big masthead up. They're just trying to mow down Torben and his team that got round first. That's no great surprise there. But the others, though, big difference in spinnakers behind them and Jennikers, as we're just hearing. Ericsson 3 have actually, incidentally, they've jibed early. They've come back out to the middle of the course to make their way back down to the next gate, or to the next mark branding. As for the others, we have got spinnakers and what looks like Jennikers up behind us. And there's actually quite a strong breeze line from the point going down along this shore, which is where the other two initially made out.
Certainly is, but it does look as if Puma might be eating into Ericsson 4's lead somewhat, but these two really getting away now from the rest of the fleet. Be interesting to see what Ericsson 3's move may do as far as the rest of the fleet is concerned, but it is all about, at the moment, Ericsson 4 and Puma. They were tied together from the start line. They decided to take the coast route. It has paid off big time. Torben Grail has the edge at the moment, but now Kenny Reid is chasing him down, and we've got a real start on our hands here for the Volvo Ocean Race. And just absolutely terrific that the people on the shore, the people in the skyscrapers we've got along the beach, will be able to see these two big beasts locked in a battle like this. Richard, are they coming into view as far as I can spot your boat? You must be getting a terrific view of those two leaders now.
300 metres to our right, leader pouring down close to shore, Puma catching up, definitely gaining, and then the rest, as you say, pouring down close to the shore. We are right by the mark. Leader jibes and points straight for us. Big dark patch of water, big gust comes through now, 28 knots, could be a little more in that one. We're 50 metres away from the mark. And yeah, they have now jibed, just heading up, they're about to get the power. Puma has gained a little bit, and down here at the mark there is a big gust, dark cloud coming through in the next couple of minutes.
Yep, just to add everything to what the guys are going through at the moment, we could well be heading for rain as well. Absolutely right, Richard. There is a big dark cloud now beginning to hang over the part of Alicante where these boats will be heading next. So Ericsson 4 from Puma, Ericsson 3 sailing very much their own race, and in fact several other of the guys have also decided to go that way as well. Certainly it looks as if the two Telefonica boats have followed Ericsson 3. Is that the way you read it, or just one of them at the moment, Lisa?
It looks like, just looking back at the course at the moment, Ericsson 3 was the first to jibe out into the middle of the course. We've got Telefonica Blue, which has jibed there next, and then behind them I think we've got the Russian boat has just jibed out, and actually Green Dragon has just jibed as well. They were quite far inshore coming around that mark, and now they've just jibed out, so they've split fleet again coming down to this mark.
I've just been kicked by Riathel Samurai because I obviously missed something. Is that Puma in trouble getting their sail down? Richard, have you got a better view of what's happening on Puma at the moment?
Yeah, Puma has jibed now. Jenica down. We've got Ericsson right in front of us now. Helicopter, you can probably just about hear us just overhead. The gust that we were talking about has arrived. Just hear us over the helicopter. Here comes Ericsson. They have got a big lead. There are issues there with Puma. Just been slightly obstructed there. I'm here with Mark Turner. Mark, who's competed in the race many years ago. Puma were definitely gaining now. They've lost a bit. They carried on to get a better angle to the mark.
Well, I think they took the opportunity to change down to Jenica, because I think they've got a big reaching leg coming up next. But they're pretty close, these first two boats. Good set off for Ericsson Puma for sure.
So Puma there carried on a little bit further down. They've got a narrow angle, as we were saying. They didn't want to jibe on the mark for the very fast power reach. This is a power reach that, well, they could be doing so much of their race around the world. These boats are the fastest ever boats to compete in the Volvo Ocean Race, and as they're fast, the apparent wind is higher than on slower boats. Expected to be, about 16, 17 knots on the racetrack around the world. Remember, this is a brand new racetrack. In front of us now, we have Ericsson, and they've got a big lead, Mark Turner.
Well, they've got a lead, but I'd say Puma's, probably only a minute behind them, and Ericsson actually chosen the wrong angle, jibed a bit early, so they're coming in very slow to the mark here to go around it. I think Puma's probably going to be gaining quite a lot very shortly.
Better angle for Puma, coming in quicker. Ericsson will be pleased round the mark. They lead, they are round the mark, they're off. Distance between the two boats, say about 400-500 metres. Big cheer on board the spectator boat now, as Ericsson now, they're happier now. Wind in the Jenica, power on, off. They're off, one final power reach jibe, and then they're going to take these conditions pretty much all the way down to Gibraltar. Good wind expected. Are these guys going to sleep tonight? This battle is going to be this intense throughout the race.
37,000 miles, Richard, to go, of course. First time we'll have headed to Asia, Singapore, India before that, China after that, during the winter. It's going to be a desperately tough race, but at the moment, Ericsson 4 are leading us out of Alicante on the first leg. Puma remain in second place. Third, we've got Telefonica Blue, I think, over on that side of the course, who could very nicely be well set.
We've got Puma coming in towards us now. They're on the power reach, fast point of sailing. These boats, will they hold the 24-hour speed record for monohulls? That could be breaking. Will it? Let's find out with the man who holds it. Seb Joss is standing right by me now as Puma in second place charges past us. Are we going to see your record broken in this race, Seb?
Maybe we see the boat is a little bit more powerful of the last edition, and but the record is made to be break, and I hope someone breaks this record and I can take after that.
Now, on board these boats now, just describe what it's like, because we're sitting out here, it's wild watching. We've seen two boats go past, big separation between them already. What's it like on board these machines when it's blowing like this?
But we can see in the really short distance the crew make a lot of sail change. That's give to the crew a lot of work. We can see Puma do already 2 sail change, but I think the guy can be really tired after just 1 hour of the race.
Now, you've seen the boats out here today, a lot of talk about Telefonica and the light winds. Everyone said Ericsson was going to be quicker in the heavy winds.
I think it's too early to say something. It's a lot of coastal effect in this area. We can see the start. The wind is really pumpy, but we have to wait a little bit more the boats to outside Gibraltar.
Thank you, Seb. Finally, tonight, is there going to be sleep on board these boats? It's a downwind sleigh ride towards Gibraltar. Are they going to go in their watch systems, or is it going to be everyone awake, pushing to be first out of the straits?
Well, it depends every skipper. We can, I'm sure, because we have to pass Gibraltar. A lot of people have to leave the crew on deck.
Telefonica Blue, there it is. Bowbecking, third. Well, that is the separation between the 3 boats at the moment. That was Seb Joss, the man who is the fastest man in the world on a monohull. He's smiling, he likes that. Will he be the fastest man at the end of this race? Perhaps not. Guy.
Yep, I'm afraid the bets are already beginning to come off on the record being broken, but Seb Joss should be very proud of his 564 nautical miles in 24 hours. But perhaps the big 3 out in front, Ericsson 4, Puma and Telefonica Blue, Bauer-Becking in third. Coming in fourth, Ericsson 3 heading out. We're going to pretty much stop by this mark now and just wave goodbye to the boats in this big spectator fleet despite the weather conditions. And I just have to say, the momentum of these boats as they go past, the speed of they go past, there's a big lift that they're just picking up as they come round this mark, and they are just screaming away from us now. And what a way to wave farewell to Alicante. It's been a terrific start to the race from the Spanish town, and a terrific performance from those top 3 boats, with Ericsson 3 perhaps the slight surprise package, but they are tracking Telefonica Blue, and those 4 away. Coming now up into 5th place, it looks as if it's going to be Telefonica Black who will be in 5th place as we look at the moment. Looking around, and Green Dragon have got inside Team Russia by the looks of things on this particular run, so they should be in 6th place if they've got that line right into the mark. But aboard Telefonica Black at the moment as they come up towards the mark in 5th place.
Yeah, Guy, we're on board Telefonica Black, just taking a second to get that picture clear, and there it is if you're following it on .tv. We're on board with the Telefonica guys. We can see in the background the rest of the fleet charging up behind them, but the thing that's impressed me the most is as they round this second turning mark, bring the bow up a little bit, get on that nice juicy angle. The acceleration is just incredible. That's happening right in front of you.
Absolutely. Lisa was just spotted it when we just watched. It was Puma, I think, that we first noticed just what a lift they're getting, and that line past this mark. This is why we've stopped. It's pointless us trying to keep up with these boats now. Here comes Telefonica Black rounding in 5th place, to huge applause we can hear out on the water from the huge Spanish contingent out here to see off the 2 Spanish boats. Telefonica Blue, remember, in 3rd place. So let's just bring you where we are on the fleet. Ericsson 4, Torben Grail, what a start from them. Puma, Ken Reed, the skipper, out in 2nd place. Bauer-Becking's Telefonica Blue in 3rd. Not far behind them, Anders Luanda, 4th in Ericsson 3. We have just seen Fernando Echevarri go past in 5th place aboard Telefonica Black. We're now trying to avoid a small clash here, and it will be Green Dragon that comes through in 6th place as we just get a bit of a wave. and our photographers give a little bit of an earful to a boat who perhaps weren't entirely sure on which way they should be crossing. But the picture being taken, Green Dragon now screaming past us, Ian Walker hanging on as Green Dragon, the spray on the bow, it'll be Justin Slattery if he's anywhere near there, who will be absolutely drenched. But super picture as far as we're concerned. Lisa having a final view of husband Neil as he heads out towards Cape Town, and well, while we catch our breaths and wait for Delta Lloyd to come round in 7th and Team Russia in 8th, what have you thought of the start, Lisa?
Well, I'm quite impressed actually. We're sitting down here at this last rounding mark for them before they head out to sea. Still such a variety of sails out there. Quite impressive. We've seen everyone, some of them still have spinnakers up, some have more reaching Jenica type sails, and the Green Dragons have got their masthead up. They're going big guns. And here we've got Sir Delta Lloyd coming up to the mark now, with the Russians actually hot on their heels. They're both arcing up now for this last mark rounding before they set off.
So that is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll just run through it one more time. Ericsson 4, Puma, Telefonica Blue, Ericsson 3, Telefonica Black, Green Dragon, Delta Lloyd with Jer O'Rourke enjoying himself at the wheel as they head out, with Team Russia, who were 6th at the top mark, now back in 8th. So obviously it looks as if they might have run in a few problems on that downwind run, and well, we knew that they were going to be better at going upwind than down, and that's certainly been proved again on that particular run, and it will be Team Russia who will be the last to pass us. And Peter, really, from out on the water, I think there's little more that we can add. Please stay with the pictures, you'll be getting them for a while yet. But as far as we're concerned on commentary, the boats are away, they're heading to Cape Town. The 37,000 miles is underway, the 2008-2009 Volvo Ocean Race is underway. Richard Simmons, terrific support from the VIP boat with his guests. So good to hear so many great sailors joining us here for the start of this great race. Knut Frostad we had as well out on the water. Peter Rush looking after everything in the pictures. It's been my particular pleasure to have Lisa MacDonald out with us for the start of this race. You also heard the voice of James Boyd, the editor of the Daily Sail. It's been a big team, but you need it for a big race. It's been a terrific start, but from out on the water, Peter, back to you.
Thanks for that, Guy. We're going to wrap it up here as well, because of course as they get out of range, they very quickly are getting out of range of our camera technology to bring it back live. So we're on board now with Ericsson 4. Those are the race leaders. We've seen an absolutely incredible start here, fantastic conditions, and really the fleet just roaring away from us now. We know it's going to be a difficult night. We don't expect the guys to be getting an awful lot of sleep, but make sure you tune in. The first position report comes at 5 o'clock local time. We'll see if Torben Grail is still leading the way out then. But that's it for us now. We're signing off. You never leave the race. It's on the internet, volvooceanrace.org. Videos will be on .tv, and of course the mobile channel as well. There's no excuse. You're going to be informed about this race. And the first position report, 5 o'clock. Tune in and see it then. For Guy Swindles, Lisa MacDonald, Richard Simmons, and Knut Frostad, I'm Peter Rush. Join us again on volvooceanrace.tv.